Are you a stressed out caregiver? Are you trying to figure out what to feed your loved one? Are they fighting eating and you just don't quite know what to do to make sure that they are eating enough food? I'm Nurse Karen, and today we're going to talk about some of the hints that I've learned over the last 30 years as a registered nurse and the last 10 years owning a care home with 3 people living with me full time. I've been in the same shoes as you over and over again, trying to make sure that the people that I'm taking care of, whether it was my own family or the people that live with me, were getting enough food. And what are my hints for that? So, as people are aging, they get to be less hungry. And then as they get closer to dying, their desire to eat gets even less. And so, what happens with dementia, even, is that people forget to eat. They forget why they need to eat. And so, getting them to eat can be a big trick. And the most important thing is that we need to make sure that we are thinking about what makes them happy, because that will make feeding someone a whole lot easier if you take into account what do they like to eat. And because we all have our own tastes, but beyond that, we need to think about what is easy for them to eat. The traditional wisdom with dementia patients is just give them finger foods. And sometimes that works really well. And that's where I have this illustrated is this sandwich. When I have someone that's eating finger foods, I tend to cut it up pretty small. And this is actually pretty big. Sometimes I'll even cut it into just bite size so that they can pick up each individual bite, or maybe they'll pick up this. But currently, I have someone living with me who is in end stage dementia, and she doesn't do well with finger foods, actually, despite that being the thought that that was the best. And so, what I do with her is I do things that are easy to chew, that don't take much chewing at all, like egg salad or chicken salad or tuna salad. Those are great foods. And I'll maybe put it on one piece of bread and then cut it up into bite sized pieces and actually feed it with a fork. She doesn't like to get her fingers dirty. And that's something I understand because myself, I don't like to get my fingers dirty either. And so her preference is to use a fork. And so you have to think about what does your loved one like to eat and how do they like to eat it? And the most important thing to think about with someone who is in their last year of life is that protein is the key. If you want them to keep going for a while longer, the protein is what they really need, because protein helps you to have good wound healing. So if you have any wounds for your loved one or just the whole disease process, they need protein. And so traditionally, we think about the food pyramid and that we need to have vegetables, we need to have something from each food group. But I find that vegetables get to be less and less appealing as people get closer to dying, and that they don't really want to eat a lot of vegetables unless it's something that they just really love. And so I tend to err more towards the protein and looking at getting them to eat the protein. The problem with the vegetables is that they tend to be a little bit harder to chew unless you make them mushy. And then a lot of times people don't really like the taste of them. I will sometimes hide the vegetables, puree them into like a tomato sauce or uh, into a meatloaf. So they're getting their vegetables, they just don't know it. But my mainstay is actually uh, for foods that don't require a lot of cooking, because as a caregiver, you've got a lot going on and a lot of things that you need to do. The last thing you need to do is spend a lot of time cooking. And you know what I have found over the years with all of the people that have lived with me is that the simple food is actually what people seem to crave as they are aging. They don't want the big, heavy, fancy meal that we all craved when we're young. They want something that's easy to chew, easy to digest, and that is simple to eat. And so it's funny to me because I've never liked peanut butter sandwiches personally, but peanut butter and jam sandwich is the overwhelming favorite food for all of the people that I've cared for over the years. It is the easy thing that seems to bring back fond memories of childhood, and people love to eat it. When I first bought my care home, opened it, I didn't serve peanut butter and jam sandwiches because I thought, oh, that is just too plain of a food. People are going to want something better than that. And then I realized that peanut butter and jam sandwiches was actually what they wanted to eat. And when I give people a choice, a lot of times that is the option that they choose. So other than the protein with the sandwich or without a sandwich, that's the great thing about egg salad, tuna salad, chicken salad is it can be eaten just like this, or it can be put on the bread. So then the other thing that I find that people like is fruit. And I usually peel their apples and slice them and put them into bite-sized pieces for them. But they love apples and bananas. I can't even count how many bananas the people that live with me go through. This is super easy. It's sweet and enjoyable for them to eat. So lots of bananas. And then I love pudding as a snack. And my secret thing with pudding is actually to use either an Ensure or to use like a Carnation Instant Breakfast or use whole milk powder in addition to the regular milk that they call for. Or, well, with the Ensure, you actually replace the milk. But I'll add this in with this and then add the milk that the pudding mix calls for. And that gives you an extra boost of protein. So this is great for people who aren't eating enough, whether it's from a disease process or a cancer, or they're a dementia patient that just isn't realizing that they need to eat. And so you want to get a little extra calories in them quickly. Pudding is the best food on earth for that. And it's also great for putting crushed pills into. So those are my hints for helping get extra calories in without having to do a lot of cooking and a lot of fancy foods. Remember, it's the easy foods that people tend to like as they're aging to get extra food in. If you enjoyed this video, please check out my other videos. I have accumulated a collection of different videos to help you be the best caregiver possible for your loved one, whether you have them in a facility or whether you have them at home. How can you help them to age with grace and with joy? That's my goal, is to help you be the best caregiver possible. So I look forward to seeing you in my next video.